Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your hosts. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 412. We have a very good show for you today, I hope. It's the doldrums of summer, so there's not really a lot going on right now outside of, developers not knowing how to act on Discord or Reddit. But I don't want to talk about that because that bums me out. I hate to start the show kind of on a down note. I know last week we had kind of some bummer stories, and everything's pretty shitty right now in the world. And I read today that Amazon's facial recognition can recognize fear, and that can't be good. That's not going to lead to great things down the future. I hope they put that technology in their drones so they know that everyone is terrified of them.
What's wrong with that Mark Wahlberg movie? What didn't you like about it?
Oh God, so here's the thing. I know that Mark Wahlberg did a movie called Fear.
Yeah.
I know nothing about it because I don't watch Mark Wahlberg films because I'm not a bro.
I mean, this was a really good thriller. He popped both the cherries. It's a bad movie, man. It's a bad movie, and that line has haunted me for a decade, 2 decades. I don't know how old. It was one of his early films. But I've derailed your thing, so go ahead.
No, that's okay. But with all this shit that we're dealing with and also terrible Mark movies, I wanted to start the show today with something nice, something pleasant. And it was kind of hard to find a story this week. In between the news reports I read of people smuggling pig semen and shampoo bottles to the woman who went to a hospital with kidney stones and left with triplets. Boy, those babies do not stand a chance if she didn't know she was pregnant with 3 of them. There was a lot of bullshit this week, and I almost gave up, but this morning I found the perfect story, and it's about everyone's favorite lovable organization, ISIS. ISIS and Al-Qaeda, actually. So right now, both of these groups, they're fighting over land in Yemen, and they've now taken their spat to the internet. Al-Qaeda this week released bloopers from an ISIS recruitment video. In the video, a man can be seen trying to renew his allegiance to the caliphate, but keeps being interrupted by a bird. We actually have audio of the bird. Would you guys like to hear it?
100%.
Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, that is the wrong bird. Let me see here. Here's the actual audio.
Alhamdulillahi wahdah.
Yeah, and every time he tries to speak, that bird comes on and he has to stop. He's laughing. He's checking his notes. Clearly, this is just an organization to be terrified of, that they can't overcome a bird.
This reminds me of that picture that's been going around for a while of the 2 Indian dudes who are like, my friendship with Raji is over, united no more. And now Steven is my friend. Do you remember that one?
Nope.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I'll have to send that to you.
Friendship canceled
CJ.
or something.
Yeah.
Modern warfare is fucked up.
Okay. So I just thought that was fun. And actually, if you guys want to know, we actually got some Podtoid exclusive audio of what the ISIS militant said after filming that. Here you go. This is exclusive on Podtoid.
That bird is not funny, and I bet not see him again. Hopefully we will fix this in editing.
You have no idea how long I've wanted to use a Brian Fellows soundbite on this show.
It's real weird that ISIS have a laugh track.
That goat has devil eyes. I would get that tattooed in Gothic font across my belly.
My favorite quote from it is one that he never actually said, but just me and my friend started saying it, like, I don't like that bird. That bird tries to steal my identity. Like, he never actually says that on the show, but that became our go-to quote just anytime we were drunk and fucking around. So yeah, let's go ahead and move off of terrorism and start talking about some games. And Dan, we're going to go ahead and start with you. You are, okay, I'm going to say No Man's Sky because I cannot believe you're still talking about Red Dead Redemption.
I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm in the epilogue now, which is like basically the fan service-y aspect of the game. It's the very end of the game in terms of the story, which it's all new content for me because, for context, when I did the video review for it, I just blasted through the story. I did none of the side stuff. Mm-hmm. And when I got to the epilogue, I was like, I'm just going to start a new game because I want to go back and experience some of that side stuff. But being in the epilogue now, it's pretty fun. But I'm almost there. I'm at 92% completion. So Soon,
Now-
one day, I will be done with Red Dead Redemption 2 and have my platinum trophy.
Now, when you say fan service stuff, do you mean Japanese video game type fan service stuff?
No, there's no chapter where Arthur Morton is suddenly reading like a hentai comic or something like that, or staring at anime titties. I wish, but no. By fan servicey stuff, I really can't give any actual details. But if you're a fan of Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, the epilogue goes hard.
Okay,
But,
and then No Man's Sky?
Yeah, the Beyond update came out, which adds a bunch of stuff, including VR, which I haven't dabbled in yet, but a friend of mine is going to be playing the VR portion of the game and recording footage for that. We're going to be doing an impulse on that, but this is the first time I've played that game in 2 years, and I don't want to start a new game because I have a giant freighter thing, I have a base, I have, all this currency, but going back into it again with no tutorial and trying to figure out how the menu works, how the different ships work, has been a chore. And the UI is just really clunky. Like, that's one thing they still haven't really figured out. I don't think they ever will, because I don't know how you'd redesign the UI in that game, honestly. But to give you an example, the moment I started it up, I figured, all right, let's go through a black hole. Let's go to a brand new, part of the galaxy or whatever, and just start fresh. I do that. A part of my ship gets damaged doing so. And I spent maybe about 20 minutes scanning planets, trying to figure out where to get a certain resource to repair my ship. And after landing on like 3 different planets, not being able to find it, I finally I caved, Wikipedia'd it, or Googled it, or whatever. And sure enough, you just buy it from a merchant. So I flew to this ship, bought it, and then finally I landed on another planet, and I ran out of fuel for the thing that makes your ship take off. So I had to scrounge around this fucking planet for 30 minutes, which was an extreme weather planet. So I get out of my ship and I'm on fire basically. So I can't move around a whole lot, but I can't get off the ground because I'm out of fuel. At that point, I went to, I hit the PlayStation button, close application, and I went back to finding a horse in Red Dead Redemption 2.
That sounds like a very, very unfortunate situation.
Yeah. The learning curve on that game is something. And if you're playing it again after 2 years, in the midst of it all, with all these different weapons and technologies and ships, it's a lot to wrap your brain around again. So I'm still relearning the whole game before I can even dive into the new content.
For my part this week, I haven't had much time to play anything at all, but I have been testing out the new roll queue beta with Overwatch. Recently they introduced the 222 limitations on multiplayer. And so, if you want to be a healer, you'll be locked into a healer role. If you want to be DPS, you're locked in DPS role, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been really excited for this. I've been waiting for this since they first announced it, and, not even considering it before then, because I don't play much of these games. Although from what I understand, this is pretty common in a lot of other popular multiplayer games. But so I was really excited. I even said amen. Thank God they're bringing it in. I didn't consider the downside of it, and it is interesting how quickly I experienced the downside of it. So there were 2 matches in particular going through the competitive mode, just trying to find my ranking for these different roles, because you have to do 5 matches in tank, DPS, and healing or support to get your season rating. And so I'm going through, and I have found just these two examples that keep popping up and that have really driven me from playing the game as much as I used to. And the first is that there are people who are going for their ranking in roles they never play, so they don't give a shit. My very first match, I was playing as a tank, and we had a healer who literally threw the entire game. He would just keep killing himself, because I assume he just didn't give a shit about playing as a healer. And actually, that happened a second time just yesterday. We had a person playing Zenyatta who on, I can't remember which map it was, but he just stood back there and waved at everyone as our entire team got wiped. And that fucking kills my enthusiasm for this game about as much as the other problem I've run into, which is that people just aren't good at the roles they think they're good at. I've played with a bunch of DPS people who run out there, get shot, and die, and that's all they do. They they can't shoot back. They don't know what they're doing. They're trying to play a sniper, but they get sniped the second they move out there. It is fucking ridiculous. And now I realize that one big downside of this 2-2-2 format of locking you into your role is that you can't switch out to go and into one of these roles that your team is lacking in. Like if you have two shitty tanks, I can't switch to an Orisa and help shore up the team because I'm now stuck with these people who clearly don't know what they're fucking doing, and it is just aggravating. And I haven't yet got my ranking for the season yet, but I just know it's going to be low because I've had so many of these matches. I think I've only won one playing as a healer, and the rest of them I've lost just because I'm surrounded by people who don't know what they're doing. If I'm playing as Moira and I'm getting gold in damage, it's clear our DPS sucks. Like she can get gold and kills really easy. She just sends out one of those negativity balls and siphons a little bit of energy, and then as soon as someone else kills them, it counts for her. But damage is something she should never get gold in, yet I am stuck with just god awful DPS teammates. Chris, have you experienced any of this?
Yeah, literally last evening and this morning, I jumped on it and checked out the roll queue mechanic for the first time.
Yeah,
and it's ruining the game for me. So here's what's going on. Like I was playing it earlier today, and I picked support because when I play Overwatch, my best character is Mercy, and I picked support and there was two people who were dropped into tanks, and there are going to be people listening to this who don't play Overwatch, so you don't want to kind of like bore everyone with the details. But basically, you could tell that they were playing as characters they don't usually play as, and we were all getting annihilated because the tanks are like the backbone of the team, and they didn't know what they were doing with their characters, so they were just getting destroyed because they'd obviously been they signed up to play as whoever, and they'd been dropped into those tank roles. And then the other problem I was having, which you've already mentioned upon, is the beauty of Overwatch lies sometimes in like fucking with the balance and then unfucking the balance once you've dealt with a problem. There can be a time where you can't get through a certain situation, so you switch up to a ridiculous lineup. You deal with that. Maybe it's just a dead, a blank corner or a tight alleyway or something. You deal with that, and then everyone can spread back out to what they were doing. But now, if you have two shit tanks or two shit healers, you just have to sit the fucking match out with two bad players, and you can't boost them by you can't switch out with them. You can't say to them, yo, you take Reinhardt or whatever, and I'll take Lucio or anything.
Yeah,
it's like you can be legitimately committed to a loss within the first 10 seconds of a match. And Overwatch isn't a game that always works on the idea, well, at least as long as one guy's playing as their favorite character, then you're bound to win. Obviously, that's not how it works. And on paper, I can see how the 2-2-2 thing's a good idea. But holy shit, like I had a series of matches and they were so unfun, and only one of them I enjoyed, and the others literally just got me angry because things weren't working and we were handcuffed to switching things out and making them work instead. It was awful. I had a corner. We were held off the first corner of a map for the entire match. And then when we switched around, they were like, well, we'll just do the same thing back to them. And they tried to do the same thing, but didn't know what they were doing. And they were taken out by like May on her own in like 15 seconds. And it was over. And it was just like, it was just basically an utter embarrassment and no fun for anybody.
Yeah.
But no one could go, shit, things are going to pot. You take this, I'll do this. And we'll just go 3 tanks just to get around this corner, and then we'll switch back. You can't do that anymore. So you've basically put like a clamp on the game. Yeah,
you really have. And, I didn't think that anything in Overwatch would drive me away from playing Overwatch because, it's a game I think I'm up to 400 hours now. But this is killing my enthusiasm for it because I'm not going to go through the trouble to find teammates and to make a squad of 6 that we always play together because I never know when I have a chance to play. And so I've just done nothing but randoms, and I've never really had a problem with randoms. Yeah, the last month before they instituted 222, I've had a bunch of 5 DPS, and I'm playing as the sole healer. Yeah, that sucks. I hate my teammates when they do that, but we can still eke out a win, and everyone is still competent in their roles. I just don't see it here, and it's like you said, when you can't switch out, when you can't take someone off a tank because they're not good at them and switch them to a healer, and you take the tank role, you will if you were going to lose a match quite quickly. It's just been a nonstop negative experience for me since they instituted that, and I don't know if I'm going to play it as much as I did. I may now have to start making time for other games, which is probably for the best. All right, moving on. Chris, you've been tackling Siege again?
Yeah, I guess I've got to find another shooter to play for the time being. But I doubled down on Siege. I'm playing it on 2 platforms at the moment. I'm playing it on PC and PS4, like bouncing between the 2 of them, because they have their own positives and negatives. PS4 is all about the team killing, whereas Siege is all about the racist and homophobic language in chat. So you pick your poison, really. I'm finally starting to get a kick out of the game because I've finally found a character that I can kind of lock into, and it's like this recent new character, Nock, who's essentially they've come up with the idea of if Kayako from The Grudge was a counter-terrorist operator, if she put on ballistic armor one day and was like, I'm going to go and save some hostages, that's basically what this new character is. They kind of tried to make her creepy and stealthy, and she wears this net. And she holds her fingers almost like in the style of spiders almost. And it's quite funny to see her kind of running around, but she can disappear from cameras, and that's really cool. And I put a video up, and I'm just doing really well with the character. I've really kind of it's taken 2 years of playing on and off, but I finally found a character that I seem to be succeeding and pushing forward with. I put up a video recently, today, I think, in fact, in the Q posts, of this moment where there's this situation where these guys have got this room locked down, and then you hear someone come on the microphones and say to my team, you hear them say okay, they're all in the room. They've taken all the corners. So we can breach, but we need to do it wisely. And about 4 seconds after he says wisely, I just kick the fucking window down and just jump through and just fucking shoot everybody. And it's just if she could take out a cigar and light it, do you know what I mean? That'd be the moment to do it. But I just kick the fucking window in, and she's got a silenced shotgun, so she's like fucking Bardem in No Country for Old Men, and it's just and people are just dropping, and then I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, were you saying something?
I was watching that clip as you were talking about it.
Right. But the crazy thing, I just like the stealth of her and the mystery and the scariness. And she went in, she cleared out that room, and I thought that was enough. But you won't believe it. It was not only did she clear the room out, but she waited until those characters that she'd taken out were in the ground, and then she went after all of their squad. She killed their kids. She killed their wives. She killed their parents and their parents' friends.
Dude,
She burned down the houses they live in, the stores they work in. She killed the people who owed them money. And that, she's gone. Underground. No one's seen her since. She became a myth, a spook story that Siege players tell their kids at night. Players fuse on a hostage map, and Nock will get you.
That sounds like if Are You Afraid of the Dark was revived by Rooster Teeth. That is a story right there.
It's crazy. And Solbo always said that I don't believe in God, but I'm afraid of him. Well, CJ, I believe in God. And the only thing that scares me is Nock.
That's one of the things I do love about kind of the games as a service industry that we have going right now, is that if there's a game that doesn't interest you at the beginning, there may be a character that comes along that you're like, oh, I want to see what they're about, and that gets you into the game. And that's clearly an example of that right here.
What's that game where it's the you're like the Malay fighting, like the samurai versus the European knights versus the Vikings?
Deadliest Warrior, is it?
No, it's
For Honor.
For Honor.
For Honor, yeah. I keep looking at that. Like, I love the concept of it, but none of the classes really interest me. And I keep waiting for that to happen. And just it's a guy, and he just fights people, and he just uses a horse spine, and he wields it like a whip. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll play as him.
Need to infuse some Dynasty Warriors into that. You just get a girl with like a razor blade hula hoop out there. Yeah, I'll play that.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte, who is playing one of the best games of 2018. Charlotte, tell us about Overcooked 2.
Yeah, Overcooked 2 is going to destroy my relationship. We got through Overcooked. That was fine. A couple of minor arguments here and there about stupid logistical leaps that one of us made about how to best deal with a level. This time round, it was smooth sailing until I think the level 5 stages. And then we were tearing it up until then because we were just so used to playing the first Overcooked. And when it got to level 5 in Overcooked 2, suddenly everything started to fall apart. Like, that's when they have like conveyor belts and fire and like everything happening at once. And insults and painful things were said that will not get forgotten for months, I'm sure.
Wow.
Oh, video games destroying relationships.
But seriously, it's great. I loved the first Overcooked, and the fact that I only bought it last night because it's in the PlayStation Store sale in Europe, and it's just Overcooked, but everything that I wanted to be added on to Overcooked. And the fact that there's like an online mode means that I can still really make full use of it when I'm not at my boyfriend's flat, because I can play it online, which is with other people, which is just great. I did actually play a lot more of The Last of Us this week as well. I basically got from before you meet Sam, just before you meet Sam and his little brother, up to the Salt Lake City Hospital scene. So basically almost at the end. So I played a good few hours, but I'm really stuck on the, I don't know if any of you remember, but there's a bit before you get into the hospital where you fight 2 bloaters. And I cannot do that. Like, it's freaking me out so much. Like, I've failed a few times and got like beaten to death. And it's so terrifying that I have to put it back down. And I wanted to get it done this weekend, but I've got to put it back down because it's too, like, the bloater coming up to you and there's practically nothing that you can do to stop it. I mean, I've read on message boards that fire is supposed to be the way to beat the bloaters, but I have full on loaded a full flamethrower, like all of my flamethrower rounds into a bloater, and it's not killed it. And I'm playing on easy, so I don't know if there's something wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with my game, but like, people are saying, oh yeah, fire kills them in like 2 seconds. And my experience is, no, I empty an entire flamethrower into one of them and they're not dead. So,
Charlotte, I think what you're doing wrong is you're not pretending the bloater is your boyfriend.
Huh.
And I think that will help a lot. Just go back to those Overcooked moments.
Yeah. And if I do use like okay, this is going to be a bit gross, but have you ever been in a relationship where it becomes so involved that you pop each other's zits?
How dare
All right,
you.
everyone, this has been Podtoid. We are now canceling the show forever. Goodbye.
Today's episode is sponsored by, that'd be a perfect spot for, honestly.
Yeah, I think we could relate. Yeah.
Yeah, this episode is sponsored by Clearasil. Anyway, the bulging bits on the bloater, like, it's really satisfying to pop those with a rifle, but apparently that's supposed to be the way to do it too, but that just doesn't work. Like, they go berserk after you pop one and you've got 3 to pop, so like, I'm playing on easy, guys. It's supposed to be easier than this. I don't know. I don't know, but I'll finish The Last of Us one of these weeks. I've just got to get into my my zit popping frame of mind, and I will get through those 2 bloaters. I'm sure of it.
Now, speaking of zit popping, Charlotte, have you seen or heard of the Dr. Pimple Popper?
No.
I have.
Okay, yeah, this is this is the grossest thing. Like, this is a woman who pops at just different. Not necessarily.
She's a dermatologist.
Yeah, she's a dermatologist, and she was doing this on, I think, YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, where she like posted videos of herself popping, not necessarily zits, but just different type of pus buildups in people that were like ridiculously large and disgusting. And so it's like, she pops in, it's like marshmallow cream is coming out of these people. Anyway, she has her own show on television. So if that's something that, you want to be horrified by, you should look up I think it's Dr. Pimple Popper is what she goes by, but she has a real name, I'm sure.
I always think it's ironic that she has her own show, and it's funny because like not to be sexist, but she's like gorgeous as well. And I always think there's kind of something like, oh, but she's really, really good looking, and she can burst all of these cysts, and that's the ideal combination we need to make this television show.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, no one's going to watch that show if someone looks like, Ron Jeremy out there popping zits. No one wants to see that. But you get a beautiful woman who's not afraid to get her hands disgustingly dirty. You got a show there on A&E.
The best part, is it A&E or TLC?
It's one of those terrible channels.
Sure, they're the same thing now. Neither are important anymore.
Right.
My favorite thing is the people who come into her office for the scripted bits are like, well, doctor, I had this thing. It's I call it my 11th knuckle. It's been on the back of my neck for about 22 years.
Jesus.
It's so nasty. It is so fucking gross.
Oh, Americans are disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, maybe, I don't know, Occams, what do you have in store for us this week?
What up? I got a twofer. All right. So actually,
I always have a twofer.
I do. I contain multitudes. All right. So I played a game, believe it or not. It's called Cat Quest. It looks like an iPad game. I rented it from GameFly.
It is an iPad game.
There you go. You just you fight like turnips and shit. I don't know. It's fine. Whatever. I play it when I'm drunk and I'm listening to a podcast. It doesn't matter. But I did watch. I watched a couple movies this week. Chris, I'm going to get to Demons. I can't find a way to watch it legally, so I'm working on that. So just to let you know. But it's called Devil's Dynamite, aka Devil Dynamite, aka Robocop versus vampires. Yeah. All right. So I had to like Google some of this stuff because it was insane. The reason I was watching, I thought I liked the idea of this is the plot. After a decade in prison, Steve Cox, the gambling king, is released. He promptly seeks revenge on Madame Mary, the former lover who betrayed him, sent him to jail, and told her new partners about the fortune and gold he buried somewhere. All right. Okay, cool. So it's a revenge story, right? This guy gets gambling king, former kingpin, gets out of jail. Awesome. Unfortunately for him, Mary has many criminal allies, including a Westerner named Ronald, who is like if you were to imagine like if Mad Men took place today, but in like an HR like IT firm kind of thing, this was the guy who'd get the secretary pregnant in like 5 minutes. It's the Pete of whatever Mad Men would be today. A Westerner named Ronald, who's protecting his smuggling business with an enslaved Taoist priest who controls an army of hopping vampires. So for anyone who doesn't know, like in Chinese myth, the vampires, they have these cute little hats on and they hop everywhere with their arms out like zombies. Oh, they're great. They're great. Okay, so unfortunately for the criminal underworld and their vampire servants, there's a Robocop-like 10-suited shadow warrior running around getting in the way of their nefarious schemes. These are two different movies. Brought into one. This guy, the gambling king, and his story arc completely different from this RoboCop dude. Like I think they meet up like twice, and they like hi, and then they go do their own thing. And it turns out the guy who made this movie, it's a director named Godfrey Ho, who was
okay.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I thought that might trigger something for you, buddy. He went as Joe Livingston in this movie, by the way. likes to take two different movies and just kind of edit them together, whether or not it works. It's amazing because the RoboCop guy, he's dressed. Oh, how can I describe this? You ever like the old? Okay, remember the Evil Knievel? Way back in the day, he wore like it looked like a aluminum kind of mesh bodysuit. To like there was a fire retardant kind of thing.
Okay.
But then he's wearing that, and then he's wearing like a spaceman helmet that's been spray painted silver, except for like one little strip so he can see. And this is his like superhero outfit. He's never really introduced in any way, shape, or form, and everyone seems to know he's the Shadow Warrior. And when he fights the vampires, he does this thing to where like he's getting his ass kicked, he's beating him up a little bit, and then all of a sudden he hits a button which sort of looks like a little strobe light. They've literally taped to his gauntlet, and it strobes, and all of a sudden the vampires start like kind of doing like a little like wiggle dance, and fireworks go off on their bodies, and they're killed. It's amazing. There's a bit where the evil Taoist priest has to like revive the vampires because they got the shit kicked out of them, not by the Shadow Warrior, by the way, just by some goons with axes. And to do so, he does the acupuncture thing, and he's like, oh, by the way, all his motions are like kung fu choreographed. Everything he does, including like pouring liquid into a bowl, lighting candles, anything, has that that kind of thing going. It's so fucking great. So he does the acupuncture thing, right? Sets up the acupuncture bits, puts them all on the neck and the chest and whatever. But they're not acupuncture needles. They're sparklers that all go off at once. And it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. This movie is fucking batshit. It makes no sense. It just ends. Ends. I adored it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's also on YouTube. The full fucking thing. It's insane. The evil criminal underworld lady Mary. She's marrying a cop. Just who the entire film doesn't want to believe that she's a bad guy, even when she is standing next to him saying, "I'll fucking kill these people." It's wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. There's like 1,000 things I'm not talking about in this movie, but it's so good. I highly recommend it. RoboCop versus vampires. Go watch it.
So Godfrey Ho, he built a career out of buying films from China where like the rights had expired on them, or that he could just get them really cheap. And then he'd film some bits in America, usually with white actors, to kind of try and sell it in the States. And then he sellotapes in the bits that he's filmed with the white actors to the Chinese movies. And usually the only link is they'll come up with a way to have characters on the phone to each other, because obviously all the people who made the first film have all fucking moved on with their lives and they're not around or whatever. But he has to make these two films look like they're the same story. So you'll get these totally different film stocks, and you'll even get changing haircuts. Like half the film will have people with 70s haircuts and the other half will have people with 80s haircuts as he just glues the two films together. Like his masterpiece that is really memified, if that's the term, is a film called Ninja Terminator, which stars an actor called Richard Harrison, who is the actor who's in most of these films, a martial arts guy. And I don't know if any of you've seen the clips, but these are the clips where like the guy is getting his wife to make him steamed crabs, and he like throws like a dagger at one of the crabs or whatever, or when he has a robot send a message and it's like a little pound shop robot that comes into his house to attack him. But I mean literally like a dollar store robot, and it's like traitor, and he's got a Garfield phone as well, which just adds to everything. That's the one where basically he shot loads of footage with this Richard Harrison guy doing ninja stuff, bought loads of cheap films, and then edited Richard Harrison scenes into the cheap films and put them back out at the cinema. And they're all just a fucking mess, but they're funny as fuck because they're poorly dubbed and they make no sense. And they all, like Occam said, they all just end out of the blue. Like, two guys will be fighting and then one of them will fall off a cliff, and before he's even hit the rocks, the screen will just cut to black and there'll be no credits. And it's like, that's the end of your movie.
That's almost exactly how this movie ended. It was a burning house that just was like, and the names like Steve Cox. Steve Cox is conservatively a 60-year-old Chinese man. And just every scene he comes up and is like, Oh, look, it's Steve Cox, the gambling king. Are you Steve Cox? The full name. It's so great. I cannot recommend it enough.
No one ever makes films like this anymore, and it's fucking annoying. What was wrong that meant you can't make films? You could still have all the other films, but make films like this as well.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Fuck it. I'll do it.
Well, that sounds amazing, and also like, I don't know, Robotech, because isn't that what they did? They just took a bunch of stuff and combined it to make something new.
I think they did that with a few anime cartoons in the like isn't Battle for the Planets? All the stuff in the American version of Battle for the Planets.
Gotcha Man, huh?
Yeah, and there's like a little robot character, and the bits with the robot character were made specifically to explain to the audience what's going on in the scenes that they're not showing from Gatchaman, because those scenes were too violent. So they bought Gatchaman, and the scenes they couldn't show because they thought they were too violent for kids. When you watch Battle of the Planets, this robot character's like, and the battle raged for 10 years or whatever, and those scenes were made by America just to kind of to fill the gaps in the story, basically.
Well, it's nice, I think nice they cared.
I think with a lot of anime, they did that, where they bought series like Robotech, and then they kind of just made their own little bits and kind of stuck them in to kind of anglicize it. Is that the word I'm looking for?
I think Transformers too. I think that was two different car transforming robots combined into one. Although I can't remember what the other one's called. Just on movie news real quick, I finally watched the Resident Evil, the final chapter on Crackle last night. And god damn, that is a fucking bad movie. Like, all the Resident Evil movies are bad, but there's a moment in this one where, spoiler alert, the plot of this movie is that there is a cure to the T-virus that is airborne. And I'll get to that in a second because it doesn't make any fucking sense. But so when this T-virus when this antidote gets released into the air, it will kill everything infected by the T-virus. And there's a certain moment where one of the heroes of the movie, who has never been in any of them until this last one, tells Alice Mila Jovovich, or however you pronounce her name, that you know what happens when we release the airborne cure, meaning that she's going to die because she's infested with the T virus. And then you have Claire Redfield, or who the actress playing her, says, Alice, you can't. Like, hold on. Wait a second. There are 5,000 humans left on Earth, and you're going to protest one person dying? Like, literally everyone on the planet will be dead in 20 minutes. But no, she can't die. God damn this fucking movie. Fuck Paul W.S. Anderson. Fuck Resident Evil. God fucking damn it. And then hold on. This doesn't make any fucking sense. So there's literally just one vial of airborne antidote. And you're told throughout the movie that there are not civilizations, but strongholds, and assumingly they're around the world. They never really make quite clear where these strongholds are, and that they're all gonna fall within 48 hours, 24 hours, 2 hours, like 7 minutes. And so she gets the antidote. She goes outside. She drops it. With 25 seconds to spare. And my only question is, how the fuck are all of these human strongholds going to survive if they're around the world? That shit doesn't spread in an instant. And yet after she drops it, everyone's like, you've saved humanity. The human strongholds did not fall. Like, what the hell happened? How fast does this shit travel?
So it's like she breaks the vial, and then when the vial breaks, it's like, it's airborne now, everyone's cured.
Exactly. And then they completely undo that when she's driving towards Manhattan, and there are more T-virus creatures following her. And she even says in the voiceover, this is carried by the winds, so it may take a long time to reach the corners of the earth. Well, then they're probably all dead. God damn this movie. Again, fuck Paul W.S. Anderson? I think I have that one right.
I like how... despite the world just being like fucking obliterated in the Resident Evil movies, like 99.9% of humans are like wiped out. Umbrella is still like, we need to wipe out the rest.
Well, that's explained in this one, so finally.
Did they?
Yes, they explained it.
I always thought that was so fucking weird that they have a boardroom full of executives being like, we need to kill the remaining humans.
I never get it. If you want the explanation, sit through the hour and 25 minutes of this movie and only watch it on Crackle. Never pay money for this movie because it fucking sucks.
My favorite thing about those films is, I mean, the decline is steady and real, but you can really see where they suffer in the fights. Like the number of just shitty quick edits for the fight scenes is so like it gives me a headache watching them because they're so bad and so jarring.
And that's this entire movie. This entire movie is edited like that Taken 3 Liam Neeson jumping over a fence. That is the entire movie is just so fucking awful. How does this guy keep getting movies? Why is he directing goddamn Monster Hunter?
Can't wait.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games and also my rants about movies, but we still have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. And as I said at the top of the show, there is not a lot to talk about this week unless we want to get bogged down on bullshit. So instead, let's start the news by talking about Mortal Kombat 11. Nightwolf recently released to Season Pass holders, and the game is currently the best-selling title of 2019. But I don't want to talk about any of that. Instead, let's talk about voice acting, specifically this voice acting.
It's like looking in a mirror.
I see only my cracked reflection.
Then I'll blind you to end your pain.
Oh.
Wow.
That is the voice of DJ Dimitri Vegas, who is being added as a skin for Sub-Zero to Mortal Kombat 11 later this month. Vegas, along with his musical partner, Like Mike, did a song for the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, which is how I assume he got this gig. It's an interesting choice, given that one of the main points of contention with Mortal Kombat 11 is with some of its voice acting.
Cut this shit! You'll kill us whether we fight or not!
Yeah. Chris, you play this game. Are you excited to play as the DJ Vegas version of Sub-Zero with that wonderful voice acting?
I don't play as Sub-Zero for a start because I'm not a terrible human being. But I just think it's the oddest decision to just, because I'm kind of old and I don't know who this guy is. So just very briefly, go round the horn. Do you guys know who he is?
Oh yeah, I do. He's a constipated French man.
Because I think it's so odd to just go, let's take this one celebrity and kind of put them in our game and record dialogue for them and give them the face. And we'll put it out there and everyone will love it. But it's such a niche celebrity as well that I think the whole concept behind making it and putting the money into making it, having the team make it, and then having it record, which is all like a big deal. I think it's so odd to just have it done for this. If it was like when they had Carl Weathers in Mortal Kombat X, that was a bit different because like you had Carl Weathers, you had a skin for him, he got to do references from films we all know, and the Predator was in Mortal Kombat X. And that was a bit weird, but it at least made sense. But here you've literally got this like music guy that some people know, maybe lots of people know. You know what I mean? I'm not trashing him or his work, but I just thought it's such an odd concept to just be like, right, we're going to make this skin and we'll record the voices and we'll put it out there and that shit's going to blow up. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's really odd. I'm sure he did his best with the voice, but there's a reason, the other voice in that clip you played is Steve Blum, who is the voice of Sub-Zero. And there's a reason Steve Blum's job is I am a voice actor and the other guys isn't. Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure he did his best. I'm not knocking the guy, but I think the whole concept at its base is just so odd. It's so odd and kind of unnecessary.
I'm 100% knocking the guy because if you're given the opportunity to do voice acting for a world-renowned video game character, goddamn, go do some voice acting training beforehand.
Yeah, it's Steve Blum, his line versus DJ Jazzy Jeff, his line. It's like, it's the difference between Chris Hemsworth without his shirt on versus me without my shirt on. To stark contrast. It's very noticeable immediately. And I don't understand why this happened. It feels like a thing where someone was like, this is a great idea. It's fun, super cool on paper, whatever. in reality, it's garbage, especially when you have the like Steve Blum, who's like done the voice of everything we've ever loved, and is a professional, versus this guy, and it's like to have the two right next to each other within like milliseconds. It's so noticeable. It's laughable, but it is kind of frustrating a little bit on the back end of like, why, Just ugh.
So what you're saying is that this is the Chris Farley Chippendale sketch of voice acting.
I love you so fucking much, CJ. It's just, oof, my heart is swelling with joy.
I just wonder how much, because obviously, I'm sure the guy got paid and it took time and it took money and stuff. And I'm just wondering how much, like, could they have not given that same money and time to like putting I read this isn't my own idea. I saw this on Twitter, but what if they put that same time money into putting Christopher Lambert in as Raiden? Yeah. And then had him do the Raiden voices and have the Raiden. And that's kind of a joke we can all get behind. And we can all be like, oh my God, it's Raiden from the movie. And he's saying those funny lines from the movie. And that's something that all the fans can get behind, as opposed to, who's this guy? I don't, like I said, I'm sure he's got plenty of fans. But what's the crossover between Dimitri Vegas fans and Mortal Kombat? Is there you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's just because, and again, I'm assuming here that just because he and his musical partner, like Mike, did a song in the Mortal Kombat soundtrack. By the way, here is a sample of some of the music they did on the soundtrack. Now that to me sounds like the soundtrack for a German fisting club. But if you're wondering where they're big,
so generic.
Yeah. They're big in obviously they're big in Europe. I think they're out of Belgium, which is where their main fan base may lie. But
so Constipated Frenchman wasn't far off.
Yeah,
that was like the soundtrack to that one scene in Irreversible. That's.
I should note that it should come as no surprise, but the DJ Vegas skin will be a free download, so no one's expected to pay money for this. Which is good because I don't think they would make that much money off of it. Moving on, our second story has to do with the Nintendo Switch Online and Super Nintendo games. Getting more than just NES games on the system hasn't been a matter of if, but when. And it seems now with the first anniversary of Nintendo's lousy online service coming up, we're closer to getting those games that we pretty much already own on different platforms on the Switch. Thanks to an FCC filing, it looks like Nintendo is preparing to launch SNES controllers for the Switch in the same way it has those NES controllers you can buy and play the NES games on the Nintendo Switch Online service. It's going to be interesting to see how much Nintendo charges for these controllers, and also if the rumors are true and they do increase the price of Nintendo Switch Online to get a package that includes the SNES games. I also want to know how long it's going to take for them to release games that they haven't released a dozen times already. Because I know there are NES games for August. I can't remember what they're called, but they're really fucking obscure. And it would be nice if we start getting some obscure SNES games on the service sooner rather than later. Are there any Switch owners on the podcast who are excited about getting Super Nintendo games on it?
I'm a little bit. There's definitely some games I'd like to revisit. And I'm really hopeful, but I doubt it. But I'm super hopeful that they port or just bring over Earthbound Zero and make that a thing on the Switch. Because in terms of like legal ways to get that, your options were the Wii U, basically. So if Earthbound Zero becomes a thing, I'll be pretty stoked. But I kind of doubt it, honestly.
Yeah, that's an iffy one because that would be part of the NES collection that's already there. So. Oh
right, okay. Well, damn. Never mind. My hopes and dreams are dead already. Thanks, CJ.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's my job.
I'd love to see Tetris Attack come back in some shape or another, but I heard that that's in sort of copyright hell, and that's probably never going to happen, which is really sad.
Yeah. The Tetris thing is like the Tetris license, from what I understand, is like licensed music that eventually you'll have to delist your game.
Yeah.
Super Metroid, I'll play that again. Why not?
But Legend of the Mystical Ninja, I fucking love that game.
God, yes, that's one that it absolutely needs. Also, what the service needs is better online because the online sucks, and I hate having to pay for sucky online. Anyways, finally, in more Switch news, Takashi Tezuka wants to see more Power Stone. The multiplayer arena finder saw its first release in arcades on the doomed Dreamcast, and it has something of a large cult following. I know our own Chris Carter is a fan of the series. Tezuka, who was instrumental in getting the first 2 games in the series made, recently told The Guardian that he would love to see the series come back and believes it would be a great fit for the Nintendo Switch, just like basically every other game these days. The last time Power Stone was released was on the PSP in a title that bundled both games in the series together. This has always been a game I've meant to buy on my Vita because everyone keeps talking about just how great it is. Is there anyone on the show who actually played Power Stone that could attest to its greatness?
I have. I own both on the Dreamcast. And I reviewed both, even for Infinite Backlog, and they're fantastic games. They're great beat 'em ups. And
CJ, I am of an age and a place to where I remember my friend Todd buying them day one. On the Dreamcast, he bought day one. I have very, very vivid memories of all of us sitting around the 4 controllers playing these games for hours, unlocking the items and just picking out different characters. Just a huge fucking blast. It was cartoony. It was silly. There was some verticality to the levels, and it's just so much fun with a group of people. I miss them dearly. They are best played. I guess you could do everything online now, but get a group of people together and play them is just so much fun. I miss those kinds of games. I miss they're lighthearted, but you can still have a lot of fun just playing them. And there's a competitive nature, but it's not like, fuck you, dude, or I don't know. I guess for PG-13 that a little bit, considering what's actually said. But
that's why it would be kind of perfect on the Switch with the Joy-Cons and whatnot. Like you just bring a Switch anywhere and have a Power Stone collection right there and then, and break up the Joy-Cons and share them and whatnot, and be all set basically.
It's so much fun, and I it's that and like rival schools and games like that. I would love to see a new generation of gamers be able to experience in the way that I did back in the day, because they're some of my fondest gaming memories.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that Capcom has one of the strongest backlogs that's not being utilized right now. When you look at Power Stone, Rival Schools, Darkstalkers, like there are so many treasured games from the 90s and early 2000s that could absolutely see a revival now that it just isn't happening because
it's one of those things where I'm not going to pretend to know how the sausage is made with this stuff and what it costs and the time and energy, but so you got your Monster Hunters, you got your Resident Evils and all that, and then huge money and a lot of resources and time. Awesome. But I wish they could take just some of that, and even if it was just a remaster, just spruce it up and get it out there in the world. Like there's a game called Techromancer, which is kind of like a mech fighting game, and I think that's Capcom. Don't quote me on that, but I have it in my head in my Dreamcast games. That was just a really quirky, kind of fun little, mech fighting game that I would love to see the people be able to play again, because they're just so much fun, and just put a little bit of effort into putting these back out there. And I think it would drum up, it would kind of a snowball effect where I would really think it could drum up interest for a new one.
I think one of, I don't know a huge amount about Darkstalkers, but one of the Darkstalkers, were there multiple? I'm getting confused, but some form of Darkstalkers game was on PS Plus maybe about a year ago. And I remember briefly trying the online mode for that, and it garnered a lot of interest. I feel like people would really want something like that to come back.
Yeah, if there was a Darkstalkers in the realm of Street Fighter 4, and not with all the baggage and all the bullshit, but just a new game, but just we given all the attention and love that Street Fighter gets, that would be fucking amazing. That's such a cool series.
Oh. Someday Capcom will make our dreams come true. We just got to make all their other games fail. So everyone stop playing Street Fighter V immediately, so that they'll dive right into Darkstalkers or Rival Schools or Power Stone, or more than likely Street Fighter 6.
Are we on Street Fighter 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah. Well, sure. Replace 4 with 5 then. Jesus. I cashed out at 3. That was the best one to me.
Yeah, I have that one for the Anniversary Collection, and I'm surprised how much I play it because I never played it during any of its original releases. But the Third Strike, fuck, that's a great fighting game.
Yeah, they had that in the arcade at my college union, and we would play that instead of going to class. Still graduated with like a 3.8 though, so I'm smart.
Oh, I mean, man, like you got Street Fighter 3 in your college. Our dorm room had Killer Instinct in it, so
your dorm room had Killer Instinct?
Not dorm room, sorry. Cafeteria. I don't know, college cafeteria. Sorry. We had Killer Instinct in it, and like I would have gladly have traded that out for a Third Strike machine, to be honest.
Oh, Killer Instinct. That's another fun one.
The thing is, if they do release a Power Stone HD collection, I'm hoping people buy it because that's essentially what brought back Devil May Cry. For all intents and purposes, Devil May Cry 5 should have never happened. But I think when the fans made it so that the Devil May Cry HD collection sold the way it did, it got Capcom thinking. So that's all we really hope for. I don't think, I don't think boycotting Street Fighter is going to do anything, honestly.
Well, what if I just want to boycott it for fun because I don't like it?
You know what? Go ahead.
Hey, CJ, as an upper middle class white person, it's your privilege to be able to boycott shit that doesn't matter. So have fun.
Damn.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I've been boycotting Hobby Lobby since forever because I never want to go to Hobby Lobby. And as soon as they start doing stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm boycotting them. Yeah, that's the ticket.
That'll do it. I still go to Chick-fil-A though. They got those waffle fries.
Very good chicken. Although the Wendy's chicken much better.
Really?
Their spicy chicken sandwich to me is much better than Chick-fil-A's spicy chicken sandwich. But you are right about those waffle fries, and then that Chick-fil-A sauce that you dip them in. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. So fucking good.
I have 3 of those little packets in my fridge right now, and I hoard them. They're so good. Oh, remember when Burger King? Hey, what's a Chickenoid today, guys? Remember when Burger King had that Italian chicken sandwich that was like $1? God, that was good.
That was good.
Americans, right, Chris?
We once had fucking pizza in McDonald's, and I think that was the most that our fast food brands ever branched out. They were like, McDonald's is doing pizza now for a year, and other than that, it's just the same stuff all the time.
There was a year that Burger King brought back a sandwich from the 70s that was literally just a ham sandwich. And that's what they sold in their stores, a ham fucking sandwich. And it was disgusting.
That's unpleasant. So I remember when Taco Bell had border fries, and apparently, as somebody on Destructoid mentioned, that's still a thing.
Oh yeah, it is.
Like Minnesota or Arizona or something. And I miss my border fries.
I miss eating meat. What day is it today? I'm on day 18 of not eating meat, and I could really go for a chicken sandwich right about now, but instead I'm having a CHIK''N sandwich.
Oh, those aren't bad, but yeah,
they're not that bad.
My buddy's in Austin, Texas right now with his dad. They do an annual father-son, we're going to go eat too much and go to bookstores trip. And he's just sending me pictures from Franklin's barbecue, of the food he's eating. And it makes me it makes me upset, really. It does, because it's like a perfect plate of food that I want badly.
Yeah, I would say that after 4 years of not eating meat, that feeling of wanting to eat meat goes away. But actually the last year or so, I've started to get cravings again. It's kind of a disturbing feeling. You've not eaten this thing for such a long time, and you've got yourself into the mindset of, it's not something I want to eat, it's gross. And now I'm like, gross.
It's hard where I live because I'm surrounded by barbecue places that barbecue outside. And so there is always the smell of ribs and steak and brisket just wafting through the air. It's like, God damn, it's like I live at a state fair or something.
I've forgotten how we got onto this.
They started talking about fucking spicy ass whatever the fuck at Wendy's, and they went on for another 5 more minutes.
Either way, I'm having a fun time talking about food I can't eat anymore, or at least choose not to eat anymore.
Is it a permanent thing?
I don't know yet. I think I'm just going to do it for a month. First of all, this is I've tried to do this before, and 18 days is so far the longest I've ever made it. So now it's more of a test of willpower more than anything. Can I make it a month? And then can I, go beyond that? But I may switch to pescatarianism after that, which I think we've talked about before on a previous episode of Dietoid. So we'll see.
I'm gonna go get that Wendy's sandwich this week. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna compare.
Oh, it's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, let's wrap this shit up. Do we have a community shout out this week, Occams?
We do. Big shout out, community member Zio. He's having some trouble. His wife had some emergency back surgery. She's cool now, but it's been a thing, and that put a strain on their budget. And he's trying to get the daughter off to college and the son to school, and so it's been a bit of a time for him and his family. But looks like through some help of our own Mike Martin and some community members, we were able to kind of help him out, and looks like everything, knock on wood, for now is going to be okay. But I want to give a big shout out to Zio. He's a good dude. I've known him for a while on the site, and he's gone through a hard time in a lot of ways, but he's doing better. And we love you, buddy, and we're glad things are looking up.
Sounds good. All right, that is it, folks. On behalf of Dan, Chris, Charlotte, Occams, and myself, thank you for listening to Podtoid, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, and the Destructoid YouTube channel.
Then I'll blind you to end your pain.